Welcome then to the first ever preview, and it is Premier League Matchday 2 preview coming out. There'll also be others on La Liga, Bundesliga and Serie A coming out today and tomorrow. So let's get straight into it then. So starting off, West Ham Chelsea on the Friday, and West Ham at the moment struggled against Sunderland 3-0, and there's a lot of negative energy around the club currently over many different things, the owners, Graham Potter, etc. So I think for West Ham, this home game here, if the players do turn up in Paquetá and Bowen, and as we know, when they can turn up, they can put up a good game against any team in the Premier League. But me personally, I just don't think that is going to happen. And Chelsea's end, I think that obviously Crystal Palace is a tough game on Sunday, but I do see Chelsea bouncing back here and getting a win against West Ham on the Friday night. And then we move on then to that 12:30 kickoff and Manchester City versus Tottenham Hotspur. And they're the two teams who had really, really good results on the opening day. Manchester City with the 4-0 win against Wolves, obviously, and Tottenham Hotspur with the 3-0 win over Burnley. So both teams, obviously, spirits are high, hopes are up. Tottenham, obviously, last night just missed out on Eberechi Eze. An interesting factor is Rich Olsen, after the good start to the season he has, he'll prepared to offer him to Crystal Palace. So does that give an indication of Thomas Frank's team use? Let's wait and see. But with this game previewing it, Manchester City against Wolves, who were playing a high line, which was Pep Linders also played at Liverpool, so it shows he might have a big influence. So the high line, I think, could be something that does get exposed for Manchester City tomorrow, where Manchester City seem to be more attacking than possession-based from what I saw against Wolves. But let's wait and see, because Tyrone Reinders had a brilliant first game. We know they got Erling Haaland, but we also know if that Tottenham defence of Van der Ven and Romero do click, it will be very tough for Manchester City to score. So with this game at 12:30, I am actually going to go for a draw between Manchester City and Tottenham. Then the first of the 3:00 games is Bournemouth, who obviously lost 4-2 to Liverpool, but they played well, and Wolves is the first 3:00 games, and Wolves obviously lost 4-0 to Manchester City. And I think for this game, I think that Bournemouth will just have enough quality to get the win. Also the first home game over Wolves this season. And so we are going for a Bournemouth win there, where I think that Bournemouth just have that more quality. Then we got the first clash this season of the two promoted teams who came up with Burnley versus Sunderland. And you always get the feeling Sunderland beat West Ham, so you think that Sunderland will get the win against Burnley. But I always think the two teams who come up, they always seem to struggle against each other. So I think this is a big game for both of these two clubs for their aspirations this season very early on. Burnley, we know, tough defeat against Tottenham. So can they get back to the strengths and that defence solid against Sunderland? I think they can do that. But also Sunderland spirits will be very high. We know they've made them signings of quality like Granit Xhaka, Ronaldo from Atletico Madrid. Mukele's now signed. I'm not sure if he'll start. But for me, I think that Sunderland do have that more quality through them experienced players who could get them over the line. And I mean, for Sunderland, if they can win this one, what a start. That will be 6 points out of 6. For Burnley, I think this is a 6-pointer very early on in the season between these two clubs. And I am going, though, to go with a Sunderland win. Then we've got an interesting game again at 3:00 in Brentford versus Aston Villa. We know Brentford very poor against Nottingham Forest on the first game of the season, but I do think with Brentford, obviously Utara's now at the club, who's a decent player from Bournemouth. Aston Villa against Newcastle United weren't great, we have to say, but I think in this game, it's an interesting one where you'd expect Aston Villa to win this one, but you don't really know what you're going to get from Brentford under the new manager so far. But I am going to go with an away win for Aston Villa. Then at 5:30, you got Arsenal versus Leeds. And Leeds United I was impressed with against Everton, but I think Arsenal, the first home game of the season, you'd expect Arsenal to win and also for Gyökeres to probably get on the score sheet. So no doubts for me, an Arsenal win, and it is 3 points that I think everyone will expect Arsenal to get. And then on the Sunday, Crystal Palace versus Nottingham Forest. It looks as if Eberechi Eze will play his last game for Crystal Palace tonight, which will play a big factor. We don't know what Mark Guay will happen, but Crystal Palace are a very well-oiled team under Oliver Glasner, and there isn't an easy 3 point at Selhurst Park at all. But Nottingham Forest look very sharp against Brentford last Sunday, so I think this is a very intriguing game and probably the toughest match to call this weekend between Crystal Palace and Nottingham Forest. And I do think that despite Forest having a good season, I just think that Crystal Palace this season could be a team one to watch out, and it's a tough game whenever you play them. So, for that reason, I am going to go with a draw between Crystal Palace and Nottingham Forest, but it wouldn't surprise me if Nottingham Forest do pick up a win there. Everton then facing Brighton, and Everton will feel hurt by the loss against Leeds after a controversial penalty, but I think Everton at the moment, they're struggling because they don't have the backline they wanted. Maybe Jack Grealish starts this game, let's wait and see, versus Brighton. But I think the first game in the Premier League at Everton's new ground, and Brighton drawing 1-1 against Fulham, a game they feel like they should have won. I think it's a tough game to call, but I do just think the first home game at Bramley Moor will see Everton pick up a win against Brighton. And then the 4:30 kickoff is Fulham versus Manchester United. And I think there will be a lot of people going into this one thinking, oh, Man United look good against Arsenal, so this will be an easy win. And Craven Cottage is not an easy place to go. And Rodrigo Muniz now still at Fulham. I think that Fulham will really make a good account of it against Manchester United. And it's one of them games where they play well against Arsenal, Manchester United, but you don't really know what to expect from them. So for this one, I don't think it will be a routine win for Manchester United, but I do think Manchester United will win. And let's wait and see if Benjamin Sesko does start this game. But we are going for Manchester United win, but I think Fulham will make it a tough game. Then Monday night football in the Premier League, and what a game this is going to be. A feisty game, shall we just say. Great atmosphere. Newcastle United's first home game of the season versus Liverpool, and everything we know that's gone on with Hugo Ekitike, Alexander Isak. This is going to be a spicy game. And I think my head always goes back to a few years ago when Jurgen Klopp was at Newcastle, and Newcastle were going for the Champions League places when Liverpool beat Newcastle at St James's. And I think the feeling of that this game is going to go one or two ways. It's a really feisty game, and Newcastle United get something out of it, or Liverpool just put on an absolute clinic. Because after the first week of the Premier League, Liverpool are for me the best attacking team in the Premier League again this season. Defensively, obviously, they have issues which I think Elanga and Gordon could exploit, but for this one, I think it's safe to go with a draw, but I am actually going to go for a Liverpool win between Newcastle and Liverpool. As I said, I think Newcastle were struggling to score goals. They look like they missed Isak badly versus Aston Villa, and I think that Liverpool attackingly are so strong. I think it could be one of them, but I think that either result in this won't surprise me. If Newcastle won, if it was a draw, or if Liverpool won, but I am going to go for a Liverpool win. So thank you for watching the video. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.